But hey, look, it's going down, so oh, nice, good timing. And look at that. Energy is flowing from the engine into the battery, so let's go ahead and start the vehicle. And that's it. We're running. So, the Infiniti M35 hybrid and Q70 hybrid is an interesting vehicle. I like that it's a cool hybrid. You know, it looks just as cool as the parent vehicle, as a parent body style. Apart from the hybrid lettering on the sides and in the M35H in the back, you can't really tell that it is a hybrid. You have to get in, and when you look inside here, it looks pretty much like the other vehicles, right? You got a speedometer there, you've got your tachometer there, fuel gauge. On the left, though, there is something different, because instead of having your coolant temperature gauge, you get your battery status gauge. So it's either powering, in that it's driving the vehicle, or it's being charged. So I wanted to make this video with a focus on that coolant temperature gauge, because it's a pretty important thing. I mean, it's a hybrid, not all electric. So you do have the risk of overheating your engine if you don't take care of it. So you still do have a temperature gauge of sorts. And I'm going to this menu button over here, if you can see it on the right side. Push, and there it is. It's right there. Right now, I just came from driving, so it's showing you that the temperature is somewhere near the middle. I'd say that it's just about right, because in the standard gasoline engine vehicles, the normal operating temperature is usually just a hair under the halfway point. So that's what it looks like over here. And then this is your red zone. So I guess it's the best they could do with this black and white screen, but we'll work with it. Now, let's jump over to this other screen here. It tells you the status of the battery, or the energy flow in the vehicle. And right now, we have the battery just sitting there, you know. It does, if you can keep scrolling, and basically redundant ways to look at the things on that other screen, like this is pretty much what you have over here. You have engine, battery, and then wheels. And switch to the next one. It tells you your gas position, and I can kind of play with the gas. I'm about to step on the gas and watch what happens. Do you see that moving? Yeah. So I can push it until it crosses over onto the power versus economy side, and I can force the engine to run. I don't know if you've noticed, but so far it's quiet and the tachometer is dead. Although I said that the vehicle is running, you can't really see anything. So let me go ahead and push until it crosses into the power zone. But I don't really need it running, so it's going to turn off. Look at what happens when I push that gas pedal again. Do you see that? I do have a video explaining the energy flow screens in more detail. So I'll go back to the coolant deal though. So among the things that are really interesting about the hybrid to me is that it gets accessories it gets electric accessories. So let's talk about coolant. And this is pretty important in the winter, right? The heat that you get in the vehicle usually comes as a result of your blower motor running and blowing air over your heater core. Your heater core has coolant from the engine bay. So because this is a hybrid, and as you can see, the engine stops running occasionally, you need a way to circulate that coolant even when your engine is stopped. So your normal water pump, which is a way you circulate coolant, is usually attached to your, is one of the accessories that's run by the belt accessory system. And you can almost hear something running. Can you hear that? Yeah, that is, you know, the water pump as an example. So we have an electric water pump in this vehicle because the engine turns off. You still need to get heat in the vehicle even when the engine is not running, right? So that's established. But the thing about the thermodynamics of heating up a vehicle is that the more you heat up a vehicle, the colder the coolant becomes. So one of the best ways to trick this vehicle to go into engine running mode is to deplete the engine coolant of its temperature. Can you see that? So you need to run that low, and then the vehicle is going to say, hey, the coolant is pretty cold, so let's go ahead and heat it up. And I mean, electric vehicles have shown that you don't need an engine, but one of the most effective ways to add heat into your coolant system is running an engine. Engines run pretty hot. So let's go ahead and try to force this situation. Right now, my HVAC is off, my heat is off. I'm not demanding anything from the heat from the coolant system. Let's go ahead and turn it on to, I'll start with auto first, then go for 90 degrees. I'm going to play with the modes. There you go. And the fan should go all the way up. Cool. So now watch what's happening there and watch what's happening there. The hotter I get, the more heat I get inside here, the colder that's going to get. And when that gets cold, the engine is going to have to run so that it gets it out to temperature. So that's what we're going to watch here. I'm sorry if it ends up being boring, but you know, if it gets too boring during the editing process, I'll chop it off. But for now, I'm just feeling it. It's decently warm. Yeah, I was just checking the fan. The fan is a maximum as well. And not only that, the more I'm running this, and I need to study it to fully understand what different things that the hybrid battery powers, because right now the vehicle is not running. Ideally, I should not be discharging the hybrid battery, the lithium-ion battery. The vehicle has both the lithium-ion battery and a 12-volt battery. So it's pretty cool. I'm learning a lot. The owner's manual on this vehicle is so thick. It is about 50%, 50% more than the standard owner's manual for an Infiniti Q70 or M. So we have a lot of learning to do, and I'm the kind of guy that enjoys reading owner's manuals. So that's something I'll be looking into more. But I'm keeping an eye on these two things, because you need the engine, the gasoline engine, to one, heat up the coolant, and that's the focus of our video right now. But the gasoline engine also will recharge the battery, and usually you can see the flow over there. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but right now this has been going down considerably, and combination of those two factors, one, the coolant being so low that it needs to be reheated, and number two, the battery running so low that it needs to be recharged. Those are the things that will kick the gasoline engine to start running. Now, right now, it's in the winter, so I can use the coolant trick. I can use the heat demand. I can use the heat system inside the vehicle to force the gasoline engine to run. But what happens in the summer? In the summer, you'll be running, the AC compressor if you're trying to cool it. And so that's why I feel like that battery will be powering things like that as well. In that at some point it's going to say, it's not going to be looking at the coolant temperature. It's going to say, hey, due to all the other things you're doing to the vehicle, you're using up a lot of charge. So let's go ahead and make up for that. So let's run the engine, the gasoline engine, to replenish your battery. But hey, look, it's going down. So oh, nice, good timing. And look at that. Energy is flowing from the engine into the battery, so that's good. And then in a little bit, you'll see that rising, and it's going. By the time it will be shutting off, it will have settled at what is normal operating temperature. So yeah, just something cool to watch. So we'll keep watching. I'm not going to force anything. You notice that the gauge on this side is now on the charging side, right? The heat is just very slightly warmer. It wasn't cold at the time, it wasn't bad. But it's definitely warmer right now. I think something goofy happened to my other phone. So anyway, I was saying that being a luxury vehicle, it does a pretty good job of temperature regulation. It did not wait till the temperature got, ice cold for it to say, hey, let's go ahead and start up that engine. No, it did not really fall that badly. And furthermore, you know that the gauge is usually elastic, more or less, in that it does have a lag. It's showing it's a very narrow area, but there's a huge, oh, there you go. So that is what I would call normal operating temperature. And our gauge over here is just smack in the middle. So I think I have achieved the goal of the experiment, so I'm going to do this. Go back on auto, then turn my temperature to a pretty reasonable 73, 74 is what I usually go for. But the point I was trying to make earlier was that I think all in all, it's a pretty impressive vehicle. I'm sure people buy hybrids for different reasons. Some people buy hybrids to save fuel for their own gain, right? You want to spend less on gas. Some people buy hybrids with the main intention of saving the planet, right? Some people buy hybrids. Now, this is an interesting thing because now we're in 2023 and we're looking at hybrids differently. When we talk about the M35 hybrid as a performance hybrid, now we're getting really good performance cars going the hybrid way as a way of enhancing their performance. The Porsche hybrids, the Benz hybrids, things like that. Now, when you see more of that happening, suddenly hybrid is cool. I'm one of the people that's buying a hybrid to enjoy it, to enjoy the benefits, to enjoy the technology and just the science behind everything.